Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today is Coronation Street Day, and today we're going to try something a little bit different as opposed to our regularly scheduled time to bash Coronation Street on its little head. I'm sick of being negative towards the show, and at some point, as much as the show may not be in the best place, maybe it's time to try and refocus. Maybe it's time to rethink and actually somewhat try and see Coronation Street in more of a positive light. Because, yes, it has been hard lately, and no, the show's not been in the best place. But sometimes when you get so caught up in all of the negativity and the annoyance, you do end up starting to just kind of throw out the same barbs. And I'm tired of saying Coronation Street is awful, it needs a break. I don't think it's awful, and I don't think it's as bad as we're all saying. I think we're all just getting a bit lost in the sauce, and we're just lashing out because it's been a while since we've all been absolutely hooked. So I think this video is going to be trying to reclaim and re-find the narratives and to try and put a positive spin on things, just because I'm sick and tired of being a Debbie Downer and not that Debbie. So what really is this video about? I think I'm going to take a look on this last week, and I'm going to try and I suppose I'll explain a bit more why I think I may be looking at Coronation Street somewhat unfavorably. I think that Coronation Street has been my least hyped watch for the last couple years. Ever since EastEnders was pushed back up on the rise with Chris Clencher at the helm, and Hollyoaks with it always being kind of... Hollyoaks is my favourite. I love, like, EastEnders is the best, Hollyoaks is my favourite. I don't know why, I love it. It's also received a lot of really awful treatment over the last couple of years, with Channel 4 opting to, instead of helping it, just simply keep defecating all over it with no real intent to stop. So in turn, it's made Hollyoaks my favourite. I love Hollyoaks with all my heart. I will keep watching Hollyoaks even if it gets cancelled. I just can't quit you, Hollyoaks. And just to generally say, I do think Coronation Street has been unfairly hit out as well, with there being a lot of schedule changes, and recently having a lot of exits confirmed, but not really to be Kate Brooks's fault. Like, a lot of these exits where they chose to leave, a lot of them were people saying last year, I'm not renewing this new contract, so you're going to have to get rid of me. So that's not really Kate Brooks's fault. That is Ian McLeod. And I know this is supposed to be me reframing it, but I do, however, think that for some reason, and I don't know why, I really don't know why Ian McLeod was hired to oversee both shows, because I don't think what he was doing was particularly good. Could I see a Chris Clenshaw type figure from EastEnders, even though could I see him overseeing the soap production? Yeah. But at least he would have been based off merit. Ian McLeod is kind of... I don't really know why he's been pushed into this spot. Like, he was a researcher in 06. He was story editor in 2013. He then left to join Hollyoaks in 2013, then took over the role of Emmerdale and from Kate Oates. And I'm not sure why there's this I don't know, it's just soap execs just kind of cycle, right? They just kind of cycle, and it's a very strange time. Like, Kate Oates would go on to be the EastEnders producer. Ian McLeod took over in 2018. And would then leave in 2024. And he really didn't I do like that 2018-2019 period, but I feel like it's when you get to that 2020 period onwards that it starts to get a bit rockier. And then for me, I personally started to have it fall off around 2022. It was just a myriad of storylines that I didn't like. Despite its online response, I hated the Stephen Reed stuff. I like killer storylines. I like twisted characters. It was too... Obviously, people liked it because it was so stupid and it was so campy, but it was played so straight. But it was so laughable at the same time. And usually I like the soap camp. But I feel like there became a time period where the soap campiness of Coronation Street just started to annoy me. It just started to annoy me. And I think it may just be fatigue, because there have been a couple of rough years for the show. And like I said, I don't think it comes from the actors. I think we're blessed with a really strong cast. I think we're blessed with some strong directing, even though at times people may question it. I think the direction we're going is better than what came before, but it's still having to phase out a lot of characters who aren't going to be a part of the makeup of this next generation of Coronation Street. And I've been quite harsh to judge some of the recent newcomers, right? Mick and Lou, yes, they've not really done much, and they've also been given look at these pricks. Look at these absolute arseholes. Look at them. They suck. And it's not really giving it a right time. Like the new recast of James came in. James Bailey's been recast, having a week worth of scenes. I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard to leap over the foot-high hurdle that the previous James Bailey set. I didn't mind him in the role personally, but fuck me, he's not very hard to beat. He's immediately exceeded expectations. The expectations were down here, now they're up here. Also, a weird little storyline. The Dee Dee pregnancy has always been a strange one, because she was posed with, she's finally gotten rid of Joel after all this time, but she's pregnant. She's pregnant with a disgusting, disturbing abuser. And so she kind of wanted the kid and had a crisis of faith about whether she would want to, see the face of a horrific man. And then she kept the baby, so Lauren's baby Frankie would have wasn't necessarily a donor baby, but was there so she would probably be a match for baby Frankie to get some extra support. But now Dee Dee's baby isn't needed for Frankie, and it's got the transplant it needs. And now Dee Dee doesn't know whether to keep the baby or not, and the rest of the family are interfering about whether she actually puts the baby up for adoption or not. And yes, I will say the James Bailey reintroduction has been quite tame, honestly. He has come back, he says, Dee Dee, I want your baby, I want to adopt him, we'll raise him in America, we won't even stick around. I will also say the part of him having Danny in America is a interesting place. If I had to guess, in a couple months' time or even sooner, it'll be revealed that him and Danny broke up, and he wanted the baby to save their relationship, and just not being able to adopt kind of broke the relationship, and now he's staying in Weatherfield because he is going to be a long-term character, or at least as far as we know. And I will say, bringing back James to add to the Baileys, a family that is also going to be affected by Debbie's dementia storyline. I think it will be a very important and a good piece to have on the board, even if my expectations are still quite low, but there's still a lot of very good characters. There's still a lot of good pieces. So I just kind of, I want to see where it goes. One thing I would like to see slightly, and I suppose also probably one thing that doesn't help my general apathy towards Coronation Street is the fact that it's the last soap that finishes in the week. And, you know, by Thursday, Friday is when it usually airs. That's usually the day off. That's usually the day where it's like, all right, you've had a good week. Time to chill out now. No, you've got to spend the morning recording Coronation. And I know, woe is me. Woe is me. You've got to watch one of your favourite soaps. Oh, but I think it does get pushed back to be my least favourite with a fairly sizable, like, schedule length, with it supposedly being 3 hours, but it's really what, like 45, 130, like it's really like 2.25 roughly hours of programming. I think the one thing I'd like to see change, and I'll get to that, but still I keep forgetting this point, but I do think I do pawn it off to be the last one, and because it is released on Friday, it just kind of generally ruins the pacing of my week, and part of me would prefer if it was released earlier, but also I still understand that my schedule and its schedule may not necessarily persist. But I don't think it definitely doesn't benefit me as much as I would like, and it does kind of become that token, all right, it's the last thing I do in the week. I watch Coronation Street all in one, and then I figure out if it's I don't usually watch it all in one, but I figure out if I actually want to get through it. So it is kind of the last priority, which I guess one thing I would like to change, and it's not to say it's all been bad, because it definitely hasn't. I would like the pacing of things. The pacing feels a bit off to me, and this isn't entirely a bad thing, because they've tried to cram in a lot of really big, exciting stuff, and I don't think it's necessarily all landed, but it's still a statement of intent for what this era is supposed to be. Kate Brooks wants this to be the chaotic, expect the unexpected, all of the surprises are going to come out kind of period. And I kind of rate this in a way. Coronation Street has kind of been in a rut for a good chunk of time now. And in my opinion, it is a good way to kind of shake everything up, because a lot of things are changing with the show, with the timing and the cast exits. So a lot of things are changing, so Kate Brooks has to radically change the image from what it previously was. And I think that is a good thing. I do believe it's a good thing. I think the pacing has been really fast with some things and really slow with others. I think that, the Mason death was really good. The David stuff was okay. The Max exit felt like it went on forever. And the others, excuse me. And some of the other stuff has dragged out. Like, yes, we are at a point where we're getting Rob and Tracy scenes, which should be really good and exciting. And there were a couple of really funny moments. Like when Tracy says, I've evolved, Rob. And Rob goes, you some sort of Pokemon or something. It's fucking buckle me. Good line. Great line. Fantastic. And then, because Rob can't really eat much food, Tracy's feeding him yogurts. He's feeding him yogurts, and he's grunting, and he's and ahhing. And the amount of... You could do like a 2-3 minute compilation of all the grunts that Rob has had to do in this recent iteration, in this recent addition to the show, because it's like, bloody hell, yeah. You could make a soundboard from all of these groans. And this is setting up next week, where Rob's got a gun and he potentially shoots either Tracy or Carla, which was probably going to be the end to the story. Someone will go to hospital, and Rob will go back to prison, leaving him back in the prison, probably never to be seen. Well, maybe not never to be seen again, but for the most part, not really gonna be put back in the cupboard. Part of me I still said, and I still would probably prefer if Bobby was somehow involved. Sorry, Bobby. Sorry, mate. I know that he's not as bad as everybody says he is, but out of all the expendable people in Carla's family and Tracy, you better not get rid of any other of them, unless Cassie, for some reason, is in the room. But like, the Rob stuff has felt like it's gone on forever. Like, I don't exactly remember when he initially returned, but it felt like he's been in a lot of episodes since he's come back. Does anybody have... He returned in January, so he's been back on and off for about 2 months. He's been back on and off for about 2 months. And it's like he's been on the run for what feels to be an excessive amount of time, and now he's holding up at Tracy's, where, like I said, you are getting these interesting back and forth. Help me, Tracy. Help me. Help me, Tracy. Tracy. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the Kevin approach. And you do get the one-liners, but you also just kind of like, how long is Rob gonna survive for? He's got a wound from getting a transplant, didn't take any of the meds, and it's getting opened up further and further. How much time's he got left? And obviously next week it'll all culminate and likely come to a close, but it's to me, because when you have such like a good like soap actor return in, I don't remember his name, but you bring back the character who had a lot of history, has a lot of good dynamics, and responds with a bunch of funny like high profile actors and characters, you expect it. But when they pitched that Rob was going to break out of prison and fart around for a while and proceed to potentially shoot and kill Tracy or Carla, I don't know what really you get from that pitching department. Like, what do you really get to enjoy from this? Because I don't know if this... I highly doubt this is what was pitched, because it's not really that good. But, you know, it's a statement of intent, bringing back a fairly tenured soap actor. Bringing him back, getting him to have new scenes with the new era, establishing new angles for Carla, establishing new directions for Tracy. I don't hate this at its core. I just think it's probably gone on a little bit too long, but then we are at the edge of it for now. And I know this is me trying to be more positive. It's still being positive within the roots of it being fairly negative. But I do think this is me allowing myself to give it more of a chance. And because I don't think it's in the best place, I'm now talking it up in my brain to believe that it has been better than it has. One thing I would like to stop doing, if we could politely stop this happening. I understand that Dylan has to serve out his time at the behavioral unit, and they don't really want to take him off our screens because they seemingly have big plans for Dylan as a character, and introducing Brody, who, let's be honest, is probably Mick and Lou's oldest boy, and I liked him as JJ. I liked him as much as you could like an abuser. And I like the idea, but once again, this character has been pretty jarring and very unlikable. Not in his acting or his delivery, but just in the way he's being presented. Which is fine, because you need an adversary for Dylan to get to disagree with and develop the side of him in the SCU. I would prefer if we shelve the SCU. I don't remember the behavioral unit. I would really like if we shelved it for a time period. I don't think anybody's done their best work in there. And it's just kind of gifted from boring character to boring character. Like, Lauren's been given so much to work with. She's been given so much care. But she's just not an interesting character. There's not really much reason to be invested in her, because her constant output is, I'm fucking miserable because life keeps shitting in my mouth. And I feel bad about it, and I don't want it to be the case. But if they're only bathed in tragedy, don't be surprised when they just stink of just sadness. That's a weird metaphor. I'm keeping it in. Where else do I go with this? I still think it's sad that Debbie is going to be killed off, because I do think that Debbie for me has been the biggest highlight of this recent couple of months. Coronation Street. It truly has. It truly has. She has been nailing everything you give to her. And to now still see that they are going ahead with the dementia storyline is really quite sad, because it means that there's a limited shelf life of Debbie. And I understand that, as I've said and as I pretty much predicted the entire time, I do think the Debbie Webster dementia storyline is going to define this era of Coronation Street. I really think they've made a bold choice to give a really strong story to a really sad, to a really treasured and beloved character, and therefore everybody's going to be in for the ride as Debbie unfortunately slowly degrades and dies in front of our eyes. And it will be really tragic, but it will also be really fucking good. It's the duality of being a soap fan, when you want your favorite characters to get a big storyline, but you don't want their big storyline to be them getting killed off. Like, it's you want them to get a big storyline, you don't want them to be killed off soon. And do I think that'll necessarily gut the show beyond belief? No, it won't. It'll be fine. Coronation Street is inevitable. It's gonna outlive us all. But it's gonna be like I said, it'll be a really tragic and sad time for the characters, as she has proven. At least everybody is sad to see Debbie go, as opposed to at other times where it's like, oh well, see ya, dickhead. Don't hit your head on the way out. Like, everybody collectively will miss Debbie, so they have done a good job at rebuilding up the character and making it be a sad outcome rather than a boring missed opportunity. What else? What else do I think has been quite positive? I mean, we have gotten good progression with some things. Like, we have gotten through a lot of material in this last couple of months. We've had a decent chunk of exits. We've had a fairly quick flowing, continuous dialogue in terms of storylines advancing. Some of them may have been a bit slow, but they've still advanced at the same time. So I can't act like they've been doing everything wrong, because they definitely haven't. And I will always, and have been rabbiting this still, I still think Kate Brooks has been given a pretty awful hand of cards, and they're expecting her to have a royal flush when she's only got two threes. You know what I mean? It's really unfeasible to expect such high octane really well done Coronation Street when a lot of the pieces are in the wrong places. But even then, so moving them back into the right places, it's just kind of, it's been a bit arduous. It's been a bit tedious. Like, Daisy and Daniel got back together, but I feel like, and I could be wrong because I've seen a lot of people love Daisy and Daniel, it's taken a bit too long to get to this point, and it doesn't really feel satisfying. Like, I think Daisy as a character has been sapped of a lot of that love that she did have for like a year. She had a really good year. I think it was 2023. It was during the acid attack year. She had a really, really strong breakout year. And since then, it's kind of been dwindling returns as she's just circled the same repetitive angles ever since. And she got really popular, and then they just slowly whittled away the popularity by taking away most of what people were excited about. And to me, it doesn't stand out as an overarchingly happy moment. To me, it feels like Daniel is happy that he's not going to have to raise a kid that isn't his. And it just feels wrong. It feels gross to me. And it's like, what about Bethany? Oh, it's always been you, Daisy. What about Bethany? What about Bethany, man? Like, it's kind of like a toxic cycle of back and forth. And I don't really like any of the options. But then, I probably wasn't the most likely to, as I was a Ryan and Daisy fan. So it's kind of that impossible predicament where they do A and B and I'm happy, or they do B and C and I'm unhappy. Like, or I'm unhappy both ways. Excuse me. So, and I think we are getting an influx of interesting characters. Like, we have the addition of James, and let's see, Theo and Carl. I'm looking forward to seeing them. And I'm looking forward to seeing, and as I said before, it has been nice to see other characters get more of the spotlight. It's nice to see Abby and Kevin, as much as I've complained about Abby, get the spotlight. Debbie and Ronnie get the spotlight. Daisy, after a decent chunk of time out of the way, get the spotlight. The Platts, they've been much more present this last year than they're much more present this year than they were for the bulk of Gail's exit year. Eileen back in front and center with Susie. Susie Gart. I do believe that we've been seeing a really good rejigging of all the pieces. Yes, I may have argued it's been a bit tedious, but still, we're putting the right people in the right places and these families in the right spots, bulking up the ones who need a bit of extra help and cutting some of the ones that may have been played out or may have been going on too long. So, yeah, I do think that with all this being said, though, I think this has been a really good thought exercise. I do think this has made me feel a bit more positive about Coronation Street. So maybe every now and then we should all sit down and think about it. Because like we said, and like I always stress, as much as I may complain, I'm still a Coronation Street fan to the core. I do love the show, and I do think that the show has the potential to get back to where it wants to be. Do I think it'll hit the highs of 20, 30 years ago? No, of course not. It's a different landscape now. But do I believe that it can become the best soap overall? Absolutely. Absolutely. And do I think Kate Brooks can get them there? Yes. But we are in an awkward transitional period where she's probably not even getting to make half the decisions herself. Like, how many of these axings were actual Kate Brooks decisions, and how many of them were characters of last year deciding, I'm not renewing this contract? So a lot of them, and someone will run the numbers, but as I said before, it's just going to take a bit of time to get there. And we shouldn't judge her on like we need to judge her in like 6 months. we need to judge her in 3 more months. We need to judge her once everybody who's supposed to leave leaves, and a bunch of the new characters that are planned to be introduced are introduced. Because I do think this vision of Coronation Street can work, but she is going to need a little bit of help. And as a fan, that's something we can generally afford to give her. Yes, it's been rough going for a good couple of years now, and I too can get a bit caught up in all the hate. But Kate Brooks has been given the job for a reason, having done quite a decent job with Emmerdale. It's now time to see what she's capable of. And maybe now, from this point onwards, I'll keep on trying to get that inner fan out and stop being so bloody negative. Because I know I've been dreading these videos. I've been dreading doing the Coronation Street stuff, and it shouldn't be like that. Because it's not like the show's boring. The show's still alright. It's not great, but it's still doing some good stuff. There is good stuff to pick apart. It's just, it's very easy to, sometimes it's very hard to, I don't know what, see the light through the trees. I've been saying that a lot lately. I don't even know if that's a proper phrase. So yeah, what do you think? Do you think we could all benefit from this little thought exercise? Do we think that Coronation Street can get much better or not? Tell me in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. I've been Watching Walford. See you in the next one. Bye bye. Bye. Bye.